I almost asked several times, and I can't tell you why I didn't or why I felt that way at the time. The time I decided to ask for help, I was at a conference, and I was getting an award for the largest meth seizure that year for Tennessee, and it was 7:30 in the morning, and I'm pounding whiskey alone, and it's like, man, I can't do this anymore. And it's sad that I even got to that point, but that was the moment where I was like, I can't live like this. You know, my father drank himself to death. I was in that path for sure. Probably would have been younger than him because of how excessive my drinking was. And then when I got back, I decided that I was going to call my commander to tell her, because I knew if I told my family member, like my wife, I could back out if I wanted to. I knew if I made that call to her, I would have to go. Our department had always said, you know, if you need help with this, you can come to us, we'll get you help. And so that's just what I decided. I just got to the point where I just couldn't take any more, and I didn't know how to stop the drinking. I couldn't do it. The times that I've almost asked for help, that really played a huge part in my decision to not ask, because I was afraid I'd lose my job or I would be ostracized, or no one wanted, like that fear of no one wanting to work with you. By the time I came to really ask for help, I didn't care about that anymore. I didn't want to die. The fear that I really think I faced was just being seen as weak. That's one of the biggest, I think, because, you know, the team that I was on was the team a lot of people wanted to be on. The position I had was the position a lot of people wanted. And I thought that I would be seen differently. I would be talked about. I wouldn't be, you know, we talk about, like, I wouldn't be trusted and all of those things. And it's funny because when I actually did come back from treatment, my first treatment, the exact opposite happened. I was getting phone calls about, hey man, tell me about like this, you know, what happened, and you know, people were curious because no one had ever stepped up and done it like that before. Like I just came forward and asked. No one had ever done it, and so there was a lot of curiosity from other officers. Obviously now I know officers that probably wanted to do the same thing that I didn't get help, but you know, they had the same fear that I had. When I think about my career and my fear of asking for help, I'll just say this. I've been retired for about 10 years, and I retired in good standing. I had a really good career. I hardly talk to anybody that I worked with anymore, you know, and it's my family that's still there. You know, we think about, you know, while we're there, it's this camaraderie, it's this brotherhood, and I'm not saying anything bad about anybody I work with, because I'm just as bad and at fault of not keeping in contact. But when the day I left that department, they replaced me. As much as I want to think I was valuable, the day I left being the point man, they replaced me with somebody else, which is a good thing, and they're great guys. But it almost was shocking that I wasn't missed as much as I thought I would have been. But the truth is that I don't really keep in contact, you know, and the people who are actually there that stuck by me are the people who I hurt for years. So one of the biggest things that we hide in police work are our feelings from our families. We come home and we have a bad call and we have a bad day and we see something truly traumatic, and our spouses will say, you know, how was your day? Well, you know, most of us, and I did this, I would just say I had a rough call today, and maybe tell her just a small amount about it, and then I wouldn't say anything else, because to me, I wanted to protect them. And I did that, so I just bottled that stuff up until it exploded. But we're not. I think we all want to protect our families, but we're doing it at great damage to ourselves. So there has to be some kind of release. You know, we're not built. Humans aren't built to see that kind of stuff daily, or you know, all those traumas. And so the thing that we can do is seek help outside of that. You know, I'm not saying that necessarily I should have gone home and told her like gory details, but I probably could be more descriptive in what it did to me, and I just didn't do that, and it ended up, you know, accumulating into where I ended up with the alcoholism, stuff like that, the trauma, PTSD and stuff. Because I was my ego was too big to ask for help. Too much pride, too much ego. And honestly, that almost killed me. So I went through my wellness department. When I asked for help, my commander sent me to the wellness department. She gave me a few days off. It was awesome. And so I went there to our wellness unit, and there was options for me to go. One place was in Nashville, and another place was not. It was out of state. I chose, so part of the fear with going to treatment was I had worked Vice for so long. At the point I went, I was a sergeant. I had gotten promoted. I didn't want to go to a rehab where I lived because I was afraid I'd be in there with people I arrested. That was a huge fear for me. So I went to a treatment center in Alabama. It was a first responder-ish program, I think. It really was. We lived with first responders and military, but occasionally you'd have someone who lived with us who was like an officer's son, someone who didn't, who had, like say a 19-year-old, and so who'd never experienced the things that we experienced. So it was kind of hard for me to open up. At this point, I was full of anger. I didn't want to be there. Like, I asked for help, and then I told them how to fix me. It just, the ego was unbelievable. So a lot of it was, the things I didn't get when I was in treatment were my fault. It wasn't them. They were there. But it's kind of weird because I had to understand eventually, and I didn't at the time that I went to treatment, that everything I had tried to do to get better failed, but I wasn't willing to listen. So the problem now wasn't the fact that I didn't ask for treatment. Now I'm not really wanting to accept it, because of the ego and the pride, self-knowledge now. No, I know I can't drink, now, and it's kind of like I knew I couldn't drink before I went, but I really wasn't, and so that's part of my problem was the cop thing was, we're in control of every scene. We say what happens, we say what goes, and now all of a sudden I found myself in this place where I'm not with my family, I'm scared, people are telling me what to do, I don't want to do any of it. And eventually I softened up a little bit before I left and had a pretty good, I'd say I had a pretty good experience, but I didn't do any therapy. I didn't do anything that I was told to do when I left, and so one of the biggest problems that I have, I don't necessarily have an alcohol problem, I have a me problem. So